Hey up, my name's Charles. I'm a pro audio engineer working mainly front of house with a bit of monitors here and there, doing my general teching, and this is my Peli. So the first thing you're going to note in this Peli is that it isn't actually a Peli case. This is a Max case made in Italy. I'd love to get a normal Peli, like an actual genuine Peli, but this is what I have for now, so this is what I use. So this Peli is primarily bottom only at the moment. I'm still in the process of building it out. I am going to get a top organiser for up here, but for the moment this is what I use. This is what I have. I've started off with pencil case. Obviously that contains Sharpies, gold and silver, especially really good for writing on radio mics when you've got several going on and about. It can't be seen by audiences, and just generally a piece of black tape on the mic. Little number, it is my #1 hack. Secondly, the other case here contains batteries, so I have some ProCell AA's, trebles, and then a torch. This torch, although pretty crappy, runs off a single AA battery, so it is really useful in that sense. I tend to keep it, or else I have a couple of 9 volts knocking around in here. Moving on, I have a small toolkit. Obviously, once I get the divider, I'll start carrying full sets of screwdrivers around, but for now, I carry a screwdriver here with all the bits for it here. It basically gives me endless opportunities for what I want to have to use. I carry 2 wrenches, one of them is lanyarded, the other one isn't, nut fuckers as I like to call them, and then I just have a pair of draper wire snips, again option to lanyard them, and there's some string knocking about in here from the last repair that I did. Moving on to this final one of the smaller cases. This is the adapters, connectors, and I've got a drum key in here as well. Obviously NL4 connectors, incredibly useful. I've got a USB charger, just because they are, again, inevitably useful. I've got a Y-split for headphones. I'm just ashamed to admit this, but that does regularly get used. Along with the drum key as well. This is an incredibly useful bit of kit. The drum key contains all combinations of drum key that you can get. Again, really useful bit of kit for people who just forget the drum key. And it's big enough that I don't really routinely have people walk off with it. I don't think I ever have in the about a year I've been carrying it in this now. Finally, I've just got some 3.5mm to 1/4" jack adapters and the other way around. So 1/4" to 3.5mm. I have in this short case, I just carry a variety of personal cables. I have a headset, mic, a radio in earpiece. I've got micro USB cable, some phono leads, and I have here this, the audio engineer's worst nightmare. As you can see, I have labelled mine with my number, with my name, everything, so it never leaves. Moving on from the black microphone cases, I come into my headphones. I don't carry an expensive set of headphones around. I just cannot justify it at the moment. I'd like a nice pair of potentially Sennheisers or potentially some DT 990 Pros, something like that. But for now, these Newmark Education headphones do the job. I don't mind losing them. They can go around, they can get a bit of a battering, and they're doing me fabulous, and they're pretty cheap. Moving on, I've got a long USB A to B cable, really useful for multi-tracking out of desks, generally that kind of stuff. It does get used quite a lot. So in addition to that, I carry a 5-meter Dmx cable, 3-pin Dmx cable, can be used as an Xlr cable, can be used the other way around in real pinch. I like it because I do a bit of lighting here and there, and obviously this is a really useful thing to carry because I know it works. Moving on, I carry 3 6-foot Xlr cables, just useful for patching stuff in occasionally. Obviously, I use a lot of mixture systems, so I use a lot of digital desks with analog stage boxes, so just switching between the two, these are quite useful to carry. And again, I know they work, so if I'm questioning a cable, instead of breaking out the big cable tester, I can use one of these to check if that is the problem. I carry a smaller Xlr cable purely because I've used it quite a few times. Never had a problem with it, always works really well. Not got Nutric ends on it, but then again, it works, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I carry a female to female gender bender. It's a brilliant bit of kit, use it fairly regularly. I am in the process of making myself some male to male turnarounds, but I don't use this that often, and it is quite a useful thing to carry around. It is made out of loudspeaker cable, but again, Van Damme, can't really complain. Brilliant bit of kit. I now have the biggest XLR cable I carry. This is a 10 metre, I think, 10 metre cable, ex-install from a church, Nutrigens on it, bodged them off another cable. It's a cable made up on the cheap because I can't justify spending £40 on a cable just for me to carry it around in a Peli. I don't mind if it gets broken. That's why these bits of heat shrink here can be bent around, battered. It's an abused cable. It's only ever really used for talkback, which you don't need a really expensive cable for as long as it works. Speaking of talkback, I carry a Behringer Ultra Voice XM1800S. Obviously, again, not the most expensive microphone in the world, but it doesn't matter because I use it for talkback. It's got a switch on it, so I can chat shit about the people on stage, and they won't hear me. I'm joking, I don't do that, that wouldn't be professional of me, but that is genuinely all you need. People crash Behringer. As a talkback mic, I don't need to spend £100 on it, I spent 20. It works, nobody's going to nick it. I've got a loop of zip ties here. I do a lot of installing temporary power in, that kind of stuff. Zip ties incredibly useful. Never really, they're just cheap crappy ones. They are going to get used, they'll get binned. I don't use them that often, but I use them often enough for them to come to every gig with me. Moving on, I've got a first aid kit too from High Gear. It essentially just contains some basics and some not so basics. I've got a pair of trauma shears, I just carry them in every first aid kit. This is a personal first aid kit, so I carry a couple of packets of paracetamol, the bog standard insect repellents. I've also got a hand warmer in here because those cold wintry outside gigs, and just some non-adherent dressing kind of stuff, and obviously some plaster and a CPR face shield because COVID-y times, kind of got to wear them. So yeah, that is that. We're moving slowly into the tape section now. I carry 2 reels of gaff at all times. A lot of the work I do, I need to gaff cables to floors. It's just always a generally useful thing to carry around with me. Carrying 2 means that if one runs out, I can still move on to the next gig without having to properly restock the Peli. But yeah, cheap gaff, don't pay too much for it. It's alright, it works. There's 50 metre rolls, so I carry 100 metres of it. I also carry some yellow hazard tape. Again, the work I do is quite varied, so this is incredibly useful stuff for me to carry. I use it, I'd say 1 in every 3-4 gigs, just because of what I do. I do such varied stuff in such varying locations that it is just worthwhile for me to carry it. Moving on, I've got some Micropore tape, obviously taping microphones to people's faces, that kind of stuff. That is an incredibly useful thing I carry. Also, acrylic lecterns. If I want to tape a cable to it, I use this stuff. Incredibly useful. Cannot fault it. I carry a roll of console tape. One of my regular venues uses a Soundcraft SI Performance desk. Obviously, no scribble strips on the channels. Incredibly useful for when other engineers have been in there and I'm reverting back to my patch. Finally, I carry a roll of normal LX tape. I do need to add some more to this kit. I did a lot of coiling and went through several rolls of tape within the last week, so this does need to be replaced in here. Moving on to some of the more electronic side of stuff. Just quickly first, I carry a multi-tool. It's got pliers on it, some nasty wire cutters. It's got a couple of blades and a couple of screwdrivers. Generally speaking, really useful thing to carry, and it's cheap, so again, I'm not too bothered about losing it. I have a Petzl Tikka torch here. It's an incredible bit of kit. It's quite bright for what it is. Runs on AAA batteries, although it can run on a Petzl core. I have mine running on triples because I always carry them. Incredible bit of kit, really. Invariably useful, and I can use it instead of my big head torch if I'm doing outside events. Cable testing wise, I carry a 10 mile cable tester, NL8, NL4, XLR, 5-pin XLR, TRS jacks, phono cables, 6.25-inch jacks, everything DINs. It has everything I could possibly need on it. It does USB as well, so I really cannot complain about that. My final thing is this Behringer UMC 202 HD audio interface. I've had it for quite a while, generally cannot complain about it, hasn't ever stopped working on me, always works brilliantly. It's got the Midas preamp in it. I say Midas preamp, but yeah, really quality, good bit of kit. I get crashed for having it because it's Behringer, but again, it's affordable, and that is what the entirety of this case is based on. Obviously, every gig I bring my MacBook Pro 2021, really ace bit of kit, insanely powerful. I have a cheap crappy case on it. It does the job in protecting it from scratches. Brilliant, cannot recommend it enough. MacBooks have started to get proper again. They went through that phase where they got really awful, but this is a proper bomber bit of kit. Moving on from that, longer days or weekends, I tend to take a DD Camping Hammock. If it's an outside event, I'll take it anyway. I can string it up under the stage, get a few hours of kit if I need to, especially in the summer during festival season. It's quite nice just to have this, just so you can chill a little bit. But yeah, brilliant again. I bought it all second hand, so yeah. Obviously this kit isn't going to be for everybody. There's a lot of budget items in there. The Behringer microphone, the Behringer audio interface, the bodged together cables, but they work. And that's what the entire preface of the case is. Not everything you own has to be really expensive to be good and reliable. I know that all the cables in that case work when I need them to work. And I'm aware if they're not working, or if there's a problem, and I can repair them. I don't spend a lot of money on stuff that I don't have to spend a lot of money on. If a cable works, it doesn't have to look pretty, and that's what the entire preface of that case is. I'm slowly building up a collection of microphones to do a lot more of my local in-house work, and as I build up that collection, more and more will end up in the everyday case, purely like kick drum mics. If I'm going to a venue where they use an external kick drum mic, I don't like them, they get moved around on stage too much. I like something like an E901 which sits inside the kick drum. It creates better sound for me, and that just, it's a lot easier for the bands on stage with small stages as well. So yeah, that's my Peli update for 2022. I'm hoping by about 6 months into this year I'll have the netting for the top. I'll have a few more bits and pieces as I progress into different lines of work, and obviously the more conferencing I do, which is on at the time I'm in college at the moment, that's the time that I'm going to end up getting some more different bits of kit.